With most basic indicators in Forex, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're still going to lose in the long run. But every once in a while, you find something that is so basic that it's really just a matter of finding that one little piece that actually works and making something out of it. But even once you've done that, it's still really easy to screw it up in the end. So let's talk about the Heiken Ashi indicator. I'd be willing to bet most of you did not see this coming before you actually saw the title of this video. This is the most basic of all the basic indicators in the entire MT4 family in terms of which indicators are already included. How could there possibly be any redeeming quality to it? Well, let's talk about it in this video. We're going to talk about what it actually is and what it does, and then how most people use it. No surprise, most people use it the wrong way. And there is a way you can use it. Now, when I say you, I don't mean everybody. So we're going to talk about that as well. But there is a redeeming quality to this indicator, and we need to find out what it is and how to use it. Now, as is often the case, especially now since we've done quite a few videos, you need to catch up and make sure you have watched past videos, or else you're really not going to get the most out of this one. And I would hate for that to happen. So I will link all of these down below. You can hit pause and go watch these. Trust me, it will be worth your time. And those videos are the trend indicators video. Really important. If you want to trade at all, like we do here at No Nonsense Forex, trend indicators video is essential watching because we are attempting to put together an algorithm for you, and you need to know what to look for within that algorithm. And that video really cuts down the amount of time it's going to take for you to find that special indicator that's going to get you into trades and out of trades. I got a slide on that coming up, by the way. Maybe we should save that. The ratios video, also very important. It really goes over what to do and what not to do when it comes down to managing a trade that is winning. And then I just did a podcast last week, episode 18, called Exit Indicators and Time, that further goes into what you need to be looking for that indicator that actually takes you out of a trade at the most optimal point possible. It has been my most popular podcast to date, numbers-wise, and that's no surprise. It's really important that you go listen to that. And that's also on YouTube. Every podcast I make is also on YouTube, so I'm going to link that down below as well. Now, this may seem like a lot, but if you really want to nerd out in this game, and these videos are really exciting and fun to watch, especially if you love indicators and you really want to trade like we do here, I think you're going to get a lot out of these videos already, and you owe it to yourself to go watch them first. So pause, go down to the description box and click on those links, and then come back here. But for the rest of you who've already seen all three of these, we move on. Now, the structure that I am giving you in terms of the algorithm that I use. Once again, I'm not giving you my exact algorithm. It took me 10 years to make it, and there's no way I'm giving that away or selling it or anything. But I will give you the structure, and you can fill in the blanks yourself. Now, here it is as most of you know it. The ATR indicator is the one piece I actually did give you. And you guys, especially fans of the channel, already know how that works and how many times we use it. It's really, really important. Now, the confirmation indicator, that is the theme of the trend indicators video. That's going to be, I sit there and say it takes you a really long time to find. It's not going to take you a long time to find a good one. It just takes you a while of testing and improving to find a really, really great one. But a good confirmation indicator, especially if you've watched that video, is something you can find relatively quickly and start using right now. Exit indicators take a little bit more time because very few people actually try and program and create an exit indicator. But it's important that we look for one and plug it in as soon as possible, because the amount of pips you can leave on the table because you don't have one can really, really add up over time. So that's why I have dedicated a number of videos and a couple of podcasts just to this one concept alone. So let's talk about how far we've come with this. Now, in the ratios video, we talk about how to manage an actual win. So first, you got to take half of your money off the table at a certain point. However, at whatever point that is, we will talk about that in a little more exact terms later on. But right now, just set a number, 80 pips, 100 pips on the daily chart, whatever that is going to be, and take half of your trade off, and then move your stop loss to break even. Move it to where you actually bought or sold the currency pair. this is a very happy moment because now it's not a matter of if you're going to win or lose. It's now just a matter of how much you're actually going to win. And so now that you've done that, well, what do you do next? You're kind of lost, kind of out there in outer space. How can I make sure that I get the most pips possible in this trade? And that's where your exit indicator comes in. That's where trailing stops come in, which is going to be a future video as well. But let's see how all of this relates to the indicator that we're talking about in this video. Now, there is a wrong way to use this indicator, and almost everybody out there does. If you type this into Google, or if you type this into YouTube, most people will be showing you how to use this the absolute wrong way. So let's talk about the Heiken Ashi indicator. Now, I have no idea if I'm saying it right. I do not care. Let us move on. It's a very, very simple indicator. It almost doesn't get any more simple. It does have mathematical equations going on in the background, but in the end, if we're talking about MT4, which is what we use, a white candle means go long, a red candle means go short. That's it. Simple as that, and it's great because it filters out the noise. So it's actually really good for beginning traders because, especially when you first start out, finding a great trade entry can be really overwhelming, especially because of all the crap you learn. If you were told that support and resistance lines and trend lines and Fibonacci are the best ways to find trade entries, and you put those on any chart, you're going to have a lot of lines up. And which ones do you use? When price approaches those lines, do you go long or do you go short? Do you go breakthrough? Do you go reversal? It all ends up being one big guessing game. Wouldn't it be really nice if you just were able to look at something like a caveman and say, okay, white goes long, red goes short. And that is the appeal of this indicator. But it is so basic, you can't even go in and tweak the settings, which it can be a really big problem because a lot of times the default settings aren't the best way to go. But with this one, you're stuck with it. I mean, on every chart across the world, the Heiken Ashi indicator is going to tell every trader the exact same thing. So there is a very dumb approach to using a very basic indicator. No surprise. So here's what you do not want to do with the Heiken Ashi indicator. Don't use it to enter trades. It would be awesome if you could just do that. It would take so much of the guesswork away, and then you could just focus on things like learning how to use your platform and money management and keeping your emotions in check and things like that. And so for beginners, gosh, I would love for this thing to work better than it does when it comes to trade entries. It just doesn't. If you actually go in and test it and put everything up on a spreadsheet, which nobody ever wants to take the time to do, they just want to look at it and say, wow, look at those big long whites and reds. They never want to put in the work and effort, but if they did, they would see that the losses exceed the gains almost every single time. It is not a great entry indicator. If you were a beginning trader and you did use this for your entries, and even for your exits, you would probably get frustrated and quit trading Forex. And so for that reason, I just can't recommend it as much as I want to. Now, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and go to the charts, and I'll give you a little more of a visual idea of what I'm talking about when I say that there's really no way that you're going to win with this indicator if you just strictly use it for your entries and exits. So here we are on the Euro-Dollar daily chart. It's the one I almost always use because we do not cherry pick here. Now let's go ahead and put the Heiken Ashi indicator up, and you're going to see there is no place to adjust the math or anything. You are stuck with it for better or for worse. You can change the colors, but there's really no need for that, so we're just going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, at first glance, depending on if you are an optimist or a pessimist, this is what you might see. You might say, wow, look at, when you do enter these, based on these candles, and these candles operate completely different from regular Forex candles. Do not confuse the two. You really get some nice little moves here, and then I call this really great reversal. Look at this one and another reversal. I'd really like to be a part of these. Well, I'm sure you would. Here is the problem, is you are ignoring things like this. This is an absolute bloodbath. If you do the work and you take this off and you measure when you would have entered and when you would have likely had to have exited, a lot of times price would have never ever hit your take profit to scale out. you would have taken a bunch of losses. And this one, let's see, 6 or 7 losses in a row before this even came. And when it did come, it wasn't even that great because that little white candle there screwed everything up. This could have been one nice long trend. Even if it was, and even if you got that, it would not have made up for all the pips you lost right here. And let's be honest, if you take 6 losses in a row, you're going to question whether that indicator works or not, and the chances of you just blindly stumbling in and entering a 7th time are pretty low. Let's be honest, all right? So you might have just taken all the losses and never had the chance to take part in that win, or this one up here. So when you really look at it honestly, instead of just oohing and eyeing over the good parts, reality can really hit you. And it's kind of a bummer at first, but long term it's a good thing because that's one less shitty indicator that you're not going to end up using. You are going to go out and you are going to find better ones. But fear not, traders. VP is here to show you something you can actually do instead. You can actually extract some value out of this dumb caveman basic indicator that doesn't really work as well as people say it does. Do this. So first, enter a trade using your own system. We are trend traders here, so you're going to get into a trend, which means if you do that, the color of the Heiken Ashi indicator is probably already going your way. So that's good. You take your initial profit, you scale out, whether that's 80 pips, 100 pips, whatever the case is, and then move your stop loss to break even. This is a very happy moment because you can no longer lose this trade. It's just a matter of how much you're going to win. Now, if you don't have an exit indicator already in place, or if you can't find one that works well, you can use this instead. All right? After you have done this, go to your charts, or whatever chart you're on where the trade's winning, and turn the Heiken Ashi indicator on. And then you just follow it for the rest of your trade. Simple as that. If you're going short, you just keep going until the red candles turn white, and then you exit. And then conversely, if you're going long, you follow the white candles all the way up until that candle turns into a red one and actually closes as a red one, and then you know that you can go ahead and take that trade off. Now, this is not a really great exit indicator. It is just better than nothing. But that's actually okay because just simply by using it as opposed to not using it, you're going to net a lot more pips than you would otherwise. So go ahead and use it if you're a beginning trader or if you just haven't found a really good exit indicator yet. But always keep looking for those exit indicators, and then you can use the Heiken Ashi to measure how well that new exit indicator you just found actually works. If it can't do better than the Heiken Ashi does, then you need to trash it and start over again. It's a really good measuring stick. And doing this one thing is going to save you a lot of time going forward. I know how long it takes to get these darn things and how to get good ones. So I'm doing everything I can to cut that time down for you as well. So again, enter the trade however you normally enter trades. Take that initial profit on your winning trade, move your stop loss to break even. And then you can just use Heiken Ashi to manage the rest of your trade. You can still have trailing stops. We'll have a video on that down the road. But you need something that is there to try to get you out at the best point. And you could do worse than the Heiken Ashi, but you could certainly do better. So keep trying to do better, and then measure that indicator that you think does a better job against the results of Heiken Ashi. This might take a little bit of journaling, which is podcast number 11, I think, if you want to know how to best do that. Maybe I'll link that down below too for you. So this is going to take a little bit of work, but the results it yields through just a little bit of work can really pay gigantic dividends down the road. Remember, traders, you will have this skill for the rest of your life as long as your brain is functioning properly. And so putting in a little bit of work now and getting this right is not only fun, I think, for a lot of people, it was fun for me, but can really yield thousands and thousands of pips throughout your trading lifetime. So put in the work now. So to wrap this up, just understand, this is really for beginners only. A lot of you probably already have an exit indicator that you like to use. And if you want, you can measure it up against the Heiken Ashi indicator and see if it actually beats it, because if it doesn't, then what you have is not really going to be the best thing going forward. But always look for better, for sure. This is something beginners can plug and play right now, and it is going to make a difference in your trading. The difference between having something and having nothing is extraordinary. Because remember, traders, 99% of traders out there, probably even higher than that, probably closer to 100 than it is 99, don't have an exit indicator that they're using. They either exit a trade by feel, which is like funny to me, but I'd be willing to bet that's how most people actually exit their trades. Or they use price levels, or support and resistance lines, or God knows what. Whatever they're doing, it's not getting them out at the best time. They're capping their upside more often than they're not, or they end up letting their trade run too long and it never quite gets to that point they were hoping. With a good exit indicator, or really any exit indicator, you don't have to be one of those people anymore. You'll always know when to get out. But once you do find better, you will not need the Heiken Ashi indicator ever again. You can get rid of it and thank it for the job it did getting you to a certain spot, but once you're beyond it, you're beyond it. The Heiken Ashi indicator will not allow you to turn pro. I don't know any pros that actually use it, but it can actually help guide you along the way and get you to a certain point that someday will get you to a pro level. So it is certainly worth talking about, and it is certainly worth taking something like this and finding the one little piece of it that can actually really benefit you. And I guarantee you nobody else is doing that. Everybody else out there, is, if you look up Heiken Ashi, is telling you how to use it to enter trades, which we already know, especially by now, is not the way to go. So if you like my approach, and you understand that my approach is the approach that gets you to win, that can someday get you to a pro level. I've done this for 10 years. I have made every single possible mistake. But that's good because now you no longer have to. And I have put together an algorithm that, like I said, is not for sale and not something I'm going to give to you, but I will give you the structure and tell you how to fill in the blanks the best I can, and you fill in the blanks yourself, and then you will have something that you can use forever. And when it finally does come together, you will no longer ever have to wonder when to enter a trade, and you will no longer ever have to wonder when to exit a trade. And when you have put it together and it is proven to work, you just keep doing it over and over and over again, and that is how you trade Forex. So whether you're seeing this for the first time or whether you're already a fan of the channel and the podcast, get to work. You are going to be testing and testing and testing these indicators well into your pro career. Trust me, you're always going to be improving on this. And I've already given you a lot of information to make this process a lot easier. So get to work. Grind the fuck out. Go get it.